Okay, so today it's about, I don't know, 4.5 weeks in after I set everything up to start fermenting. For the most part, it's done. Um, as you can see, the two different kinds of honey I use. This is the store-bought Nate's from Georgia. This is a local honey from here in SC. And of course, the organic maple syrup that I did. So today we're going to be racking it and degassing one of them and making a new jug here. Normally when you buy these, they're about $18–20 a piece. They have it already drilled with a grommet in it. These were about 12 something. This was bought for me from a family member. So what we're going to do is we're going to drill a hole, we're going to put in a grommet, and then we're going to start siphoning. Got our little hole in there. I'm going to work this grommet seated in here. The only reason we're going to degas one of these today is I don't know how much of the maple actually fermented. It quit, the airlock on it quit doing stuff probably about a week and a half in. So I'm going to sample that today and see how it tastes. And if it's still too sweet, I'm not going to worry about degassing it or anything. I'm just going to siphon it off into a new vessel and just let it go from there. So we got this here. So the first one we're going to do is we're going to do the maple. I got me like a little bowl here to set it up to be just a little bit higher. Move this out of the way for you. Got our little siphon. Now normally what I do is I try to keep these directly off the bottom because I don't want to suck up a bunch of the lees and yeast that is left over from it. So we can get it to clear out a little bit and start getting it to age. But with the maple stuff, I'm not going to be too particular about it. Like I said, I'm going to try to see what happened with it. I mean, I might end up having to put it back in its original jug if it's still too sweet. Maybe add a little bit more yeast to it to see if it'll ferment a little bit more. But we'll see. So I'm gonna put this on the floor. Just one pump with the siphon is all it takes. When I did the video starting how I showed everyone how I started off with just a balloon and just whatever recycled bottle I could. I didn't always have this. I had to do it, manually with my mouth, and it just led to me drinking a bunch of it instead of, letting it age. So as you can see, with the whole little homemade cheap rig, the balloon's still inflated with CO2. And down here at the bottom of both of these little jugs here, how well you can see that, that's where all the yeast and nutrients and everything soaks or settles after it's done fermenting. And like I said, it went for about 4.5 weeks before the airlocks really died down from doing anything. So easy peasy there. There we go. That's a new jug. So what I'm going to do here is I'm just going to grab a little measuring cup, get a little sample out. see what we're working with here. The whole idea behind the maple thing is priming the thumb cake for my still. Try to bring out different flavor, get something with a little bit of a different flavor. Oh, that is amazing. There's like almost, there's very little sweetness left to it. So I don't think it's going to need any more fermentation. So what we're going to do next is degas it. Again, back when I first started, I didn't have all this stuff. I just used a whisk. And then, you know, here it is 5-6 years later, you know, over probably about 100 gallons of mead and wine under my belt. I started getting other stuff because it gets to be a lot of work when you're doing everything by hand. Take this off over here. Let this sit over the sink for a minute. Kind of got a mess going on. I got about 10 things going on today. So we're going to set our lid back on here. Now I'm not going to label this or nothing because as dark as it is, I can tell that it's the maple. I haven't made anything with buckwheat honey lately. And that's a really, really super dark honey too. So we're just going to throw an airlock on this and let it rest for a couple months in the dark. Shake it up real quick. Even after hitting it with the degasser, you can see stuff still coming out the airlock. Now I'm not going to sit here and hammer it, you know, for 45 minutes to try to get everything to sieve out, because, you know, there's still going to be some of the yeast that got pulled up in the siphon and everything. So I'm just going to let it go for a couple more months, and when I'm ready to bottle it, it'll get hit with the degasser again. And I really can't stress enough on the whole degas thing before you put a cap or bottle it, because I've had a few bottles. I've had a bottle explode catastrophically, and that was a pretty shocking moment. There was a loud bang I wasn't expecting, and you know, when it happened, I was just kind of standing there like, what the hell was that? My wife was yelling at me, you know, from across the house, trying to figure out what that loud bang was. And I opened up my closet to my office. I turned my oldest son's room into like my little gaming room and brewery when he moved out. And one of the bottles wasn't properly degassed and exploded, getting mead and glass shards everywhere, embedded in the wall, embedded in the door. So luckily I was, you know, I had the door shut and I wasn't injured, but that's something you have to keep in mind when you're doing homemade brewing. And this was when I was new to doing it. It was a mistake that I made. And when you start doing this, you're going to make mistakes. And it's important to not get too mad about that. So what we're going to do here is we're going to clean out this jug and reuse it for one of the honeys. I'll see you guys back here in a couple minutes when I got everything done. Alright, so I got the local Kim's honey done. The thing about, you know, making meads, I've had some honeys right when they were done fermenting taste amazing, and then after they've aged a little bit, they were still so damn sweet that I considered them undrinkable. And even people that I know that liked really sweet wine, you know, I gave them some, just a neighborly thing to do, to give out some free wine. and even they couldn't drink it. And these are people that, you know, can definitely drink some pink Moscato and some other fairly sweet dessert wines. And that's, you know, the experience with that one was, you know, store-bought clover honey. And clover honey, I mean, everybody that I know makes mead. It's a 3 pounds of honey to 1 gallon ratio of must, if you want to be fancy and call it that. I've yet to try it, but I thought about redoing clover honey and just doing it a 2-to-1 ratio to see if I can get that sweetness down a little bit. Because, as you know, if you're watching this, you know anything about honey. Honey's not cheap by any means. This local stuff that I got at the mill where I get my animal feed at was $21 and some change for a 3-pound jar, which, I mean, compared to what I've paid at the store, that just was an outrageous deal that I could not pass up. And the taste of it, I think it's going to make some really good mead. I won't know for certain for about 6 to 8 months. I try really hard to let my wines and meads get at least a year old before I drink them. I definitely don't offer them to other people unless they're at least a year old, and they've been really well degassed and aged properly, because mead gets really, really good after about a year. The only wines I've ever made, I've done a few out of like blueberries, cherries, and peaches. For the most part, they were pretty good. Super dry. Definitely would have needed some back sweetening. But again, that was when I was first starting. I have yet to try to make just a fruit wine again since. I got some friends up in Indiana who recently made some dandelion wine. And I sampled it. It turned out pretty good. Now this one I'm not going to degas, because even after pulling it out of the closet and stuff, you shake it a little bit, and I mean, like now you can kind of see the airlock kind of going crazy. And I definitely picked up some lease in the bottom of this reusable jug. So I'm gonna get some things cleaned up, and I'm gonna try to have this up on YouTube as soon as I can. And then any guys interested, I'm gonna be recycling and melting down some aluminum car parts in about a week into just some cheap cast iron Star Wars pancake molds, just for the heck of it, because I really like to melt stuff. And somebody gave me a bunch of aluminum stuff for free, so I'm gonna go nuts and work on melting all that down. But if anybody's got any comments or starting off brewing, questions or anything, comment down below, and I'll get to you as soon as I can. And until next time.